You know the story about the assassination or the alleged assassination of the Deputy President. And we have Oluke, who is the Jubilee Vice Chairman, saying that Tanga MPs, they do not want FBI and foreigners to probe on this matter. He has faulted the move by the state to have international security agencies probe assassination claims on DP William Ruto. And I don't know what Alice or Home you have to say about this.
Yeah,
You've declared yourself that you're in the Tanga.
I haven't declared that.
You support the Vice Chairman.
Let me say that I'm a Jubilee Member of Parliament, and forget about the outfits, Dibale, of Tanga and Kieleweke.
But if you have this pronouncement surely from a Vice Chairman, that the Tanga MPs...
It's a Vice Chairman of his committee.
Of his committee.
Yes, not a Vice Chairman of Jubilee.
I think it's a wrong reportage.
I think there is a wrong report. He's a Vice Chair of... I think Security Committee.
Security Committee.
Security Committee. But I think that those are his views, and I think there are concerns about why the DCI could have rushed to think that this is a matter for FBI. I suppose that exposes another belly that we really don't want, because we believe that we have, the government has actually given a lot of capacity funding, money for funding of the office of the DCI. We talk about a letter, but I think let's underscore the need for me to do a thorough investigations into the allegations of a plot to eliminate the Deputy President. For me, I have had people dismissing those fears or those claims, and that would be a big mistake, because any Kenyan that expresses fear on his life or a plot that is being hatched or expected to be hatched, or even the talk and discussion, should actually be given the opportunity to have the matter investigated. So if Kinoti then is telling us the best way he can deal with it is applying the services of the FBI, I think so be it. So be it. But let's hope that it is not something that he just talked without, I think we should hold him to account. We should hold him to just know whether that he has put that in place. And by now, actually, for me, the investigation should be already ongoing. And I'm not, I would also say that it's unfortunate that some people think that to carry out an investigation or to start in preliminary investigations, you need the Deputy President to write a complaint. You don't need to write a complaint for investigations to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Richard Onyonka, briefly.
For me, the way I would interpret it is that there's a section in the paper here which basically said the reason why the DCI and the other officers who brought in the issue of the FBI is simply because there's a link between some tweets which came from the two individuals who actually are purported to have written this letter. And the other bit that I also saw in the paper, and I'll get it, Dibal, I'll tell you which page it is that there was online correspondence between some individuals who are within the DP's office, and I believe it has to do with hacking, that there's a likelihood that the DCI or DPP does not have the capacity to actually access the data and the correspondence that exists on the Twitter platform. That is the reason why they would seek permission from the FBI, which then would talk to Twitter and explain that this is a criminal offense, and would they be agreeable to release this information. The second point I want to make is that, for me, this is a serious matter. This is a matter that should indeed be investigated, because discussing about assassinating a leader, especially a leader of the level of the Deputy President, is not something that we should engage in as Kenyans. We should be free, we should be allowed to criticize each other, we should allow each other to politic without necessarily putting our lives on the line. And I hope that the DCI will soon come up with evidence and with information which will either find people culpable or which will then exonerate some individuals, so that then it is up to the President to move on. But I think, Dibal, for me, where we are today, and it's true, as an opposition member, I'm actually a little bit laughing. Jubilee is imploding from within. And my point is, let them continue imploding. because then it leaves us, the opposition, to do other things. We don't want to be interested in concentrating on what Jubilee is doing amongst themselves. Watch a Cubane. So, as an opposition member, I'm happy.
I'm happy. You're happy.
Yes, because when they are quiet and together, they really push us all the way to the river. Now, let them implode.
Bogiso seems not to be really amused by that.
No, I'm not in that party, so I'm not.
Oh, you're not in the Jubilee?
No, I'm in Kanu, but
You're in Kanu?
But
Why?
of course,
I've always been under the impression you're in Jubilee.
No, Kanu is an affiliate of
Yeah, it's an affiliate.
Yes, but the internal issues of Jubilee Party,
Yeah,
we are not signatory to the thing. Now, the whole idea is that we don't want to be speaking about assassinations in this country, this age. And I think the problem I see, Edival, is the fact that maybe because trust and lack of trust is a problem here. If the problem is within cabinet, then the DPP is left with no choice but to try and look neutral in the affair of investigations. And so the involvement of foreigners, in my view, may be brought about by the very fear that any decision, any investigation done now cannot be trusted. And when we reach that place in our country where we can't trust our own, if for example, Dibal, that it's cabinet working to bring down somebody, you can't be, that cabinet cannot be trusted anymore. You can't have a cabinet that works to do that kind of thing. And so I do, the only reason I would probably agree that the DCI would go for FBI and others is the fact that he wants to look like it's above board, that if it comes from one side or the other, anybody can be branded here in Kenya. So let's try and see if we can get a neutral person to do it. That may be the only reason. Otherwise, it was not necessary.
Sort of a demilitarized zone.
Exactly,
yes,
something
okay.
like that. I think that what Alice is saying is correct, that we put a lot of resources in these offices, and we should be able to investigate matters like that. And I was actually wondering if a claim of assassination involves the FBI, and if, God forbid, that there should be something actually wrong, whom would you call then after that? I mean, we don't know whom we call then. Whom would you call now? If we can just investigate an allegation, bring FBI at that point, when the crime is actually committed, now what would have happened? And so let's just pray that God helps us as a country, that we move away from this discussion of assassinations,
right,
because we are not a country that should be talking about that now. And
thank you.
And anybody, by the way, anybody who claims and makes false claims, I hope that somebody will be caught in this matter.
Right, Hamad Manyora, this might be a make or break also for Jubilee. Whichever way the outcome really comes out. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe, but allow me also to talk about the letter, to say this, that I am actually surprised the whole country is coming to a standstill to discuss a fake letter. And I think you will blame the president and his advisors. Look here, the person who writes that letter alleges that that letter is a follow-up to a discussion he has had with the president. So all it will take is the president to say, I have not talked to any individual about such a matter. And that immediately means that's a fake letter. Automatically from the head of state. And the matter is rested. But underneath, quietly, we can then be investigating who it is trying to cause alarm. As to whether we should bring in the FBI or not, I don't like this idea of showing the world we are not capable of doing things. In any case, anytime we have brought these experts, we have never gotten value for money and time. We brought in Inspector Troon to investigate the murder of or assassination of Robert
Oko, yes.
With the famed somebody, Dr. West, the world's toughest pathologist or something. Nothing came out of it.
From Scotland Yard.
We have brought FBI. I would rather we brought in SFO, Serious Fraud Office, and help us catch these thieves who are stealing our money. If that would be done, I'll be happy. But for this, we are showing the world we are really small people. We think small. It is an embarrassment. It is shame on us and shame on you Kenyans, because if a letter is a forged letter? What is our problem? Why are we discussing?
But even if they
And
brought
to your answer, definitely,
yes, yes.
kitunguu cha Jubilee kinaingia mchanga. They are cooking themselves. And I've advised these people. You know, I run a YouTube channel. I'm not advertising it here. And I've been advising them. You see, when you start something like this handshake, it is fire. And you know, fire, they say, is a good servant, is a bad master. It can burn people, and indeed it will burn people. It will destroy careers, it will make careers. You can warm by the fireside, or you can go in and get burned. It can raise down a building, it can destroy thousands of acres of forest. This handshake, fire, I can see it beginning to burn. And the first house on fire is the Jubilee House. Unfortunately for the country is, when you start games such as this, and I hope someone tells the president and Raila and Ruto, when you start something like this, it assumes at some point a life of its own. And once that happens, and you have no control over it, lots of good things could happen, but more often than not, many bad things do happen. So, let it destroy some people. I can see it building some people. I can see it giving people like Alice an opportunity to show what they are made of, that they have some fire in the belly. So some people will be destroyed career-wise. Others, like Alice, will become governor because they have shown people she's like another Wango Makeri. But in the wake of this handshake, I'm telling you, careers will be lost.
has said so many things.
Let's hear from Okongo
Careers
before
will be
we come
lost.
to Alice.
I think the ball. First, I think if we want to see justice being done on this, we need to look at two aspects. One, if indeed there are people who are plotting to assassinate the DP, then let there be investigations and the culprits face the courts of law. But on the other hand, if somebody occupying the office of DP can have people working under him give some false information to very high-ranking officials in the government, and then you cause the country to come to a standstill because you have released some fake report that people want to kill you, then we also need this war to be taken to the doorstep of the DP, because we need to see leaders who serve with integrity. Really, that's not a very small report to make. I can't walk to a police station today and make a false report that people want to assassinate me. If that report is false, then I expect the police to prefer charges against those who have made that false report. So we shouldn't say that if the FBI come and say, we have done investigation and we have arrived at a conclusion that these reports were false and fake. If they were false and fake, then we need people working with the DP to be charged for giving false information to the police. Number two is just to agree with what Manyora is saying. You know, this constitution we enacted in 2010 has some good aspects and some bad aspects. And I think the worst aspect is this thing you call independence of constitutional office holders, where somebody wakes up and says, now I want to call in the FBI. And this is costly. These guys are not coming to give us gratis services. You are going to pay dearly. And then at the end of the day, as Manyora has put it, there's nothing to show for it. You saw the DPP. The other day, he brought in a QS, it's a Queen's Council. We don't know how much that person was paid. They come, they do nothing, go away. And yet, within the borders of this country, we have very good people who can do prosecution. We have very good people who can do investigations. And I think if this was during Moi's tenure, there is no way somebody will wake up one day and say, I've brought in FBI. I think we are wasting public resources. And Article 227 of the Constitution on procuring of services, and I think getting the FBI, you are trying to procure a service, obligates the people who are doing that procurement to have a process that is competitive, that gives value for money. Now, how do you determine that there is value for money? When you wake up and someone FBI, we don't even know how much you are paying them. We don't know how much the QC was paid. We are wasting public resources. And then finally for DP, I think being a politician, Alice will tell you that we receive threats day in, day out. You should behave like a warrior. If you hear people applauding to, they say something about you, don't have paranoia where you want to make reports that people want to assassinate you. My conclusion is that this is a, is a very cheap attempt at self-pity. It's like what happened to George Anyona, who was having a beer at Mutugi's in Dagoretti. Just having a piece of paper, now they should form, a political party. And then you are taken to court and charged with sedition. In this time and era, where we have expanded political space, the DP should have his eye on the ball and acknowledge and accept that we will have competitors. There are people who may not like his politics, who may sit somewhere to say the DP is not the best candidate to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. That should not make him conclude that people are after his life. Let him be like a man, a real man, and face the battle.
But also when you're talking about the Queen's Council as well, and you as a senior counsel, they are vested interests as well. Of course, now you'll actually cast aspersions of the DPP. People will say, Congo Mogeni, because actually is, defending the Deputy CJ, then he will actually...
I'm actually defending Kenyans professionals. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be appointed by the DPP to do any prosecution.
From a viewer's point of view, we'll see that this argument is very skewed.
I think the point I'm making, Debal, and we have one lawyer here, Alice Wahome, we have enough qualified professionals in this country who can be engaged by the DPP. We have enough qualified police officers who can be engaged as investigators. What Manyora has told you is that we should not embarrass ourselves by portraying to the whole world that we don't have people who can do investigations, people who can do prosecutions. How many countries are doing what we are doing? Take an example. Will you go to Uganda and find Uganda is bringing Queen's Counsel from England to come and do prosecutions?
Right. We'll also subject maybe the DPP's office to another question that you're raising. Do we have enough people to run some of these task forces that they're coming up with? That is just in a little while. But let's hear from Alice before we head there.
Okay. First, I think it is not right to sit here and say that the allegations. If you look at the first story on page 1 of yesterday's paper
of the Sunday Nation,
you'll find that there are steps that the DCI has already started putting in place. And that's why I said I think the allegation itself, in my view, is a serious complaint, and we cannot dismiss or start saying that the DP should stand like a man and know that the threats will come. I don't think that's a good attitude or approach to this kind of an issue. I think what we are saying is that let's hope that the complaints were founded, or there was a good reason to feel threatened, and therefore he raised a concern.
Okay.
But Professor Manyora has said it will make or break. I don't think Jubilee is going to be broken by this, because we expect a good report from the DCI, but I agree, we have enough professionals in this country. I think the office of the DCI should be in a position to do the preliminary. I think it was rushed to make a conclusion that we need an FBI. Just like I don't agree that we needed a Queen's Counsel to prosecute the case for the DCJ. That I agree, DCJ. Because we have very senior and serious lawyers in this country. You can look at and see when the legal profession started. We have very serious senior lawyers, and going quickly to get a lawyer outside the country, I think we give the wrong impression of this country. We have invested as a country in training many professionals. But Haman is talking about Wangu wa Makeri. Actually, Wangu wa Makeri was not fairly judged. In the time that, the period that she was able to rise to the position of a very powerful chief, I think she deserved more place in history than the stereotyping that she was actually, there is a connotation that she was a very powerful, and she was a harsh, and she was also doing strange things with men. But she was also a very close friend of very other powerful chiefs of her counterparts. And I think she did her job. And I think we actually need to get a better record.
I think,
With
I think
whatever
the bar-
means.
Wango or Makeri.
The bar.
Ongo
We
Makeri.
need
bar-
some research, and I think, you know, he should get that research
the
now.
bar,
Yeah.
just to make Alice relax, you know, throughout history, women, whenever they have risen to some level of success, they have always been vilified.
Yeah.
In the Bible, there are people like Mary Magdalene, whose books that they wrote, whatever their testimonies, were put under the carpet, and some of them were even labeled as prostitutes just because they were women. So we know a lot will be said about successful women leaders in the past. So we are taking the good part that she had fire in the belly. That's what I meant.
Correct. Oh.
These others, if you have fire in the belly and were able to face authority in the eyes and talk, that's what I was making reference to.
Okay. Okay. Let's hear from Richard Onyoka.
Thank you. I wanted to talk to my sister, Mheshimiwa Alice. The truth is,
If we begin, will we get out of this actually topic? Yeah.
no, it's the last.
I'm just wondering.
It's the last comment I'm making on this topic.
Yes.
The truth is, here you have President Uhuru's cabinet. 4 of that cabinet's members are being accused by his substantive deputy that they are planning to assassinate him. I don't see how you would look at that and assume it's just a story. I think this, for me, this story actually is really like the tipping point for Jubilee's implosion. And it is not normal. I mean, we've not had such a matter. For example, Deputy Vice President Saitoti was there. There were internal wranglings within the PNU, and you would hear all these issues about succession and everything. But there hasn't been a scenario where you had a person running for the succession of a sitting president in this country, where they publicly, or his surrogates publicly came up and said, our person is being targeted to be assassinated. This is a weighty, very weighty matter. And I think if the truth comes that those individuals were actually planning this, then again, it sends a certain message, and the DPP will have to do something. There will have to be prosecutions. If, number 2, you find that this was a lie, I don't think these 4 cabinet members are going to be willing to work with the DP. So either way, Jubilee is in trouble.
I agree with Onyonka Deba. It took many years for Saitoti to come public and tell us that he had been poisoned. Because the reason why he didn't say it when it happened, this kind of things can bring down a country. You know, when you talk about the death of a president or a deputy president, this is dynamite. You could cause things to happen in the country that would destroy the country. But I want just to be given a second to say what I said before. All we need is to begin from the fact that this is a fake letter. That's what I've said.
Thank you.
And we need none other than the president to tell us it is fake. Because he will really say, this guy who purports to have spoken to me, who I then asked to write a letter, is non-existent, this fiction. And we must believe our president. Because if we stop believing our president, then we have no country. If the president says this letter is fake, the matter rests there. And anybody complaining that their life is in danger like Ruto must then stop. You get it?
Yeah.
And even apologize to the country, perhaps.
Thank you.
And then, and like I said, quietly, in their own time, the DCI then brings to book the people who have brought this kind of fuss to the national attention at a very great risk to the country.
Thank you. Right, thank you. And of